Testing. Can you guys hear me now? I had phantom power turned off on my microphone. That's why nobody could hear me. Can you hear me now? I see it on OBS. All right. Thank you so much, Adachi. And everyone else, I wish you had been a little more specific with the concerns, but nonetheless, I appreciate it. Okay. Let's start again from the top. Since apparently no one heard a single word I was saying. All right, let's start again from the top. So, today I want to talk about some tricks I use to make LLMs perform better. And the reason this has been on my mind is because I guess right before the stream I was having a conversation with a friend about how robust are these LLMs really? How much does a human need to be in the loop? Can we really trust these LLMs to do the right thing? And I think it's really useful to be skeptical by default. Before I got into LLMs, I was very skeptical of them. I think skepticism is healthy. And I think if you're going to be less skeptical, you should be refining your skepticism by actual experience with this stuff. And so I was very skeptical up until late February of this year when Claude Code came out. Prior to that, I tried stuff like ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok. And obviously they do some cool things. They've always done some cool things, but they didn't seem very reliable for like large-scale programming. When Claude Code came out, I saw this Reddit post that really raised an eyebrow for me. It was like, it successfully decompiled some really old piece of code. And I was like, wow, LLMs can do that? Maybe I need to reconsider what I think about these things. So I gave Claude Code a try. And I started getting very impressive results very quickly. I was doing just a bunch of like little game projects, nothing too serious. Just like, let's try a Super Mario Bros. Clone, you know. Let's try a makeshift game with like, you know, a menu system and a lobby system and stuff like this. I was just trying these little mini projects. And it was doing a great job. It wasn't doing a perfect job. But it was doing a great job. It was saving me a lot of work overall. But over time, I started to run into more and more roadblocks. As these projects got bigger and bigger, as I would work on them, Claude would start to fail more and more. Claude would have a really hard time managing projects as they got more and more complex, as Claude made them more and more complex. That was Claude 3.7 at that time. Recently, Claude 4 came out, Claude Opus 4, and it does a much better job. But even with the superior model, I think over time I've learned this bag of tricks that we can use to get better performance out of our LLMs and get sort of more scalable performance. So that as these LLMs work on these projects, make these projects bigger and bigger and bigger, they stay self-reliant, they don't require as much of a human in the loop. And so I want to talk about some of the tricks I use for that. These are some really simple tricks, like really dumb things, but they work, I think. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'm gonna okay. Oh, and my vertical stream was also screwed up. It was on the starting soon screen. I gotta fix my OBS stuff, guys. I'm just getting back into streaming. Go easy on me, okay? I'll figure this stuff out. I promise. All right, so let's go ahead and get Notepad up. Let's see. Oh, this is my notes from last time. So let's go ahead and what the heck? All right. So these are some notes I took last time. Let's go Enter key all the way down here. Okay, tricks I use for getting the most out of LLMs. There are certain idioms that I will use over and over again when I work with my LLMs, and they go a long way towards improving performance. So let's talk about the most naive thing you can do when you're using an LLM, right? So the naive thing to do when you're implementing a project with an LLM or implementing a feature is you simply tell the LLM, implement X feature. Right, that is the absolute most simple way to get your LLM to attempt to do what you want. Maybe this is, what a feature means could be either small or big. Maybe it's, you know, implement this entire application, or maybe it's implement this button in this application, right? Or implement this small function in this application. Whatever it is, the naive thing to do is just to tell LLM, do it, right? Sometimes this works. Actually, a lot of the time this works. And I would recommend, you know, trying this out with your LLMs before you get more fancy, just to get a sense for what your LLMs are good at and what they're not good at. But what you'll find with simply telling it to implement these features is that sometimes it will be hasty in how it implements a feature. Sometimes it won't design things particularly well. Sometimes it'll make the code more complex in a weird way. So we have some refined prompts that we can use to get better performance out of this. And again, all this stuff is going to be super simple and it's going to sound super dumb. But they're just basic instructions to tell your LLMs that make things quite a bit more scalable, I think. So naive is implement X feature. Slightly less naive is telling it to plan stuff. So I want to implement X feature. Don't edit the code yet. Analyze the code base. That part's a little bit optional, but analyze the code base and come up with a plan for implementing the feature. When you do that, Claude Code or whatever LLM you use doesn't directly implement the feature. Instead, it figures out, okay, how do I want to implement the feature based on what the code is? You know, ideally, it's doing all this planning anyway, even with the naive version, but you can't be as sure as when you actually directly tell it to come up with a plan, right? So generally what I do is I'll tell it to come up with a plan like this. And then, you know, Claude responds with, here's a plan. And then you can either read the plan and say, I like this plan implemented. So if you like the plan, then you say implement X feature or go ahead and implement it. If you don't like the plan, you give critiques on the plan. You say, I mean, it depends on exactly what the plan is, but make XYZ changes to the plan and give me the revised plan. And then it just kind of loops like that until you're happy with the plan, and then you tell Claude, go implement it. Now, what often you'll find is that you don't even need to read the plan. You can just kind of trust Claude to come up with the plan and just go for it. But it still helps to force Claude to make the plan first. If you force Claude to make the plan first, it now has this plan in its context. It can now reference the plan more easily when it's implementing the feature. So often I'll tell it to make a plan. I won't even read the plan. I'll just tell it, okay, I trust you, do it. It depends a lot on what the feature is. If you're telling it to implement something where there's a good chance that it might not completely understand what you mean, maybe you have a very nuanced idea in mind, maybe it's not a clear-cut feature, maybe it's an uncommon feature, then you should definitely be reading the plan and making corrections. Because it will often, it can't read your mind, right? So if you have something of ambiguous intent, you need to read the plan to make sure it's doing what you want. But for a lot of straightforward features, you really don't have to worry that much. So often you can just go ahead and skip actually read the plan and say, plan it, wait for it to come up with the plan, and just say, fuck it, implement it, you know? So this is something I like to do a lot. Really basic stuff, but it goes a long way towards making things better. Now, I'm going to give you guys the real killer that I've found to be the most useful idiom in terms of getting the most out of my LLMs. So the biggest problem with LLMs, right, is... So my experience with the biggest problem with LLMs is that if you try to implement a feature and it's buggy or there's some other bug in the code, so let's say you have a bug, right? So okay, up here we have implementing a feature, and then if you're talking about fixing a bug, so the naive thing to do is say there is X bug, go fix it. Optionally add an error message / extra context, right? But you basically just describe what the situation is. You say, this is the intended behavior. This is what the current behavior is. Go fix it. So let's add the slightly more detailed version. Slightly less naive. The intended behavior is X. The correct behavior is Y. Go fix it. Okay? And then the plan version of this is the intended behavior is X, the correct behavior is Y. Don't edit the code yet. Don't edit the code. Analyze and diagnose the issue. Okay? This is something I tell it to do a lot. Analyze and diagnose the issue. And then it basically does the same thing here. Here's a diagnosis. Basically, it reads the code, tries to figure out exactly where in the code the issue is. If you like the diagnosis, you tell it go ahead and try it. And if you don't, you tell it to make XYZ changes. But I'm not done. There is more to this. Okay, there's a lot more to this. No, there's not a lot more to this. There's one more thing to this. Now, again, it's not that complicated. This is all stupid, dumb stuff. Stupid, dumb tricks to make your LLM better, okay? So, if you don't like the diagnosis, explain the issue with the diagnosis and tell it to revise. So, often, diagnosing the issue is, hi, Zoe. Yes, I do read this. How are you, homie? Often, telling it to diagnose the issue first and then having it fix it gives you more reliable results than actually fixing it. But what if it tries to diagnose it and you look at its diagnosis and say, that sounds reasonable, go ahead and try it, and it still doesn't work? What happens then? What do you do if it still doesn't work after that? And this is, in my opinion, the biggest problems that I've had with LLMs. If you tell it to fix a bug and it fails to fix it, it leaves a mess in your code where it tried to fix the bug by changing some stuff around and it didn't fix it. So you tell it to fix it again and it keeps trying to change some stuff in the code, fails to fix it, etc. And the code gets more and more messy and the code gets more and more complex. And this, in my opinion, is the biggest reason why LLMs start to do worse and worse and worse at large scale. For like a large scale project. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying any of these LLMs can scale infinitely. They can't. But if you want to get better scaling behavior, you need to do something about this really fundamental problem of, I'm trying to fix a bug, I'm going to just keep fucking around with the code base until it magically works and make it messier and messier and messier in the process. Why am I giving a lecture on Kick? I'm just multi-streaming, homie. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitch, I'm on Kick. And I'm just talking about stuff that I want to talk about, I'm not even thinking of it as a lecture, really, just stuff that's been on my mind that I want to talk about, So if you're interested in it, feel free to hang out, ask questions, whatever. I hope you want to hang out. So if you diagnose the issue, or if you try to diagnose the issue and it seems reasonable and it still fails to fix the bug, how do we deal with this complexity issue? One very simple trick, okay? One very simple trick. Review the changes you just made, and if they are not absolutely necessary, revert them in order to minimize LLM debt. This is the most magical sentence I've ever typed into Claude. I use this sentence multiple times a day, every single day. This is the biggest trick I've figured out to prevent it from making the project messier and messier and messier every time it works on a bug. In the past, what I would do is I would try it 3 or 4 times to fix the bug, and then I would say, screw it, I'm going to have to go in myself and fix it. I'm going to have to go read the code and understand what's going on and try to find that bug and fix it. And if you're a computer scientist, if you're a programmer, you should be able to do that, right? I'm not suggesting being a scrub that just completely relies on the LLM to, use its brain instead of you using your brain. But if we can minimize how often the human's in the loop, we can get the most efficiency. And so, this trick, in my opinion, is the most powerful thing I've found to deal with this issue. Ever since I started using this trick, which was, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I don't think I've read a single line of code since I started using this trick. I just keep telling Claude over and over again to try to fix the bug and try to find a new diagnosis and to revert what it did if it didn't work. Every time you do that, it saves in its context what it's already tried to do. And so it knows that it's not supposed to do that same thing again. It knows it's supposed to look for a new diagnosis. And eventually, I find that with the vast majority of bugs, so far every bug, I'm sure at some point I'll hit a bug that it fails on, but so far for every single bug, I've eventually gotten Claude to just fix the bug. And then from there we move on and we implement more and more features without a lot of hassle. It's scalable. Or at least in my experience, it's been pretty scalable. So, yeah, I really want to encourage anyone who's into vibe coding to implement these kinds of strategies in terms of how you engineer your prompts. It really matters a lot what exactly you tell these LLMs to do. These LLMs are smart. They're pretty smart, but they work a lot better the more you force it to show its work and the more you force it to clean up its messes. And so those are the basic things I wanted to talk about in terms of how to get more out of your LLMs. Now, there's some more advanced stuff that I've been like looking into lately. And I won't say that I've perfected this part or anything, because this is a bit more complicated, what we're about to go into. But I have found it to be a pretty cool trick. So let's say you have a pretty big project, and you have some weird, spurious bugs here and there. Spurious? You have some weird, spurious bugs here and there, right? And you don't know the current state of the project, you don't know how messy it currently is, etc. How do we take this weird, complex, messy project and deal with it with an LLM? How do we do that? I want to talk about something I call a spec autoencoder. And this is going to sound, I guess, somewhat maximalist, but I found it to work actually shockingly well. It's not perfect, and I want to think of better ways to engineer my prompts to make them better. But let me talk about what I currently have in mind with the spec autoencoder. You start off with let me start by explaining what. Let me explain what an autoencoder is. In the world of machine learning, in the world of neural networks, an autoencoder is when you take some input, maybe it's language, maybe it's an image, whatever. You take some input, you compress it into some representation with some neurons. You have some neurons that store all these features, and then you decompress it by trying to recover the original information. Okay, so in mathematical terms, what this looks like is you're trying to model a function x equals f, or let's see, decoder of encoder of x. So basically, we're trying to figure out what encoder and decoder can we learn to get the identity function. That way, when we encode and decode, we get the same result back as close as possible. Why would you want to do this? In the world of machine learning, there's a whole bunch of reasons you might want to do this. Typically, an encoder is going to give you a more compressed representation. So maybe you like remove noise from the data this way. Maybe you are able to interpret features better this way. There's multiple reasons you might want to use an autoencoder. What I'm calling a spec autoencoder is inspired by this concept. We're not training an encoder and decoder per se, but we are going to encode our code base into a spec and then decode it into a new code base and try to recover the original code base from the first code base. So what do I mean by that? So we start with some code base and we say, okay, we start with a code base. We say, how do I want to phrase this? We say, analyze the code base thoroughly, write a spec.md that is clear, concise, comprehensive, and human readable. Spec.md should be constructed such that a fresh Claude code instance in a fresh directory can recreate the code base from scratch. Okay? So this is basically the prompt I give it when I have an existing code base that's kind of messy and I want to turn it into something a little less messy. Okay? The concise part here is very important. This is the part that makes it kind of like an autoencoder. Okay? We're taking our big code base and we're shoving it down into a spec that is as clear and concise as possible with the hope that all of this random information about the original code base that was maybe not that useful gets lost in the process, and what's left is just, these are the features, this is how the user uses the program, this is what the interface is like, all just solid facts about what the code base is trying to do and how it should be doing it. It can include stuff about the design as well, but it gets rid of a lot of the nitty-gritty details. It gets rid of a lot of the micro, if you will, and focuses on the macro. And then from the spec, once we've created the spec this way, we go to a new directory with spec.md, and we say analyze spec.md thoroughly, fully implement, or something like, I think comprehensively implement spec.md. Really simple. And it turns out, at least in my experience, you get rid of a lot of unnecessary code this way. Like often, like this will be shorter than your original code, the new code base you get. And in general, the shorter your code base is, the less noise you're going to have, the easier it is for Claude to keep the right things in context while it deals with the code base. And so this is another trick I found to getting a lot out of your LLM if you have this starting position of, oh, I've got this kind of messy code base to work with. So to recap, planning, telling Claude to plan things, telling Claude to show its work, really important. Telling Claude to clean up its messes, really important. And if you already have a mess, telling Claude to compress and decompress the information is really important. I think these are the things I've used most often to get as much mileage out of Claude as I can. Yeah, I hope that was interesting for you guys. I want to explore these ideas more. I think, every so often you come up with like a new trick that allows the LLM to sort of push in one way or the other. Like you might notice that an LLM has a certain weakness in a certain way. Maybe it's bad at doing a certain kind of let me think of an example, right? As another example that I've had to come up with a trick to make an LLM get better performance. Okay, so so one issue I've seen a lot with LLMs is that they sometimes lose track of how do I want to put this? They sometimes lose track of like the high level design a bit. And so having to keep track of like an extra design document in the process and document what it does as it works can help it keep the correct information in context, right? So that's like another trick. And like as you use LLMs more and more, you'll like develop this bag of tricks more and more. But these are the ones that I found to be most helpful, and so these are the ones I really wanted to share today. Let's see. What else shall we do today? I'm probably going to be signing off pretty soon, actually, because I am on very low sleep. But I want to show you guys the current state of Cerberus. So we implemented this new feature the other day that I think is really cool. Oh, wrong thing. So we implemented this new feature, Alt plus Up Down. And I wanted to show this real quick because I think it's really, really useful. And then I wanted to implement one more feature based on it. So originally Cerberus allowed us to switch between workspaces sort of absolutely, like we choose a specific workspace number. Like right now I'm on workspace 10, we want to switch to workspace 1, I'll do Alt 1, and it just swaps them, right? And that's pretty cool. I'll swap them back. We implemented Alt plus Up arrow, down arrow to simply iterate through our workspaces. Maybe we don't know exactly which workspace we're looking at, so if we just do Alt Up arrow, we go to workspace 11. Here's my Cerberus stuff. Alt Up arrow again. We go to workspace 14 because I already have 12 and 13 up. And this is just blank right now. Now what I want to implement based on this is Alt Shift Up and Alt Shift Down. So to take a look at our current help dialog, we use the additional shift when we're sending a window to a workspace instead of just switching the entire workspace. So like let's say I want to take this window and put it on workspace 14. Then I can do... So let me show you guys the command. It's going to be Control Shift Alt 4 to send it to workspace 14. And now that window is just gone from workspace 11. So now if I switch to workspace 14, we can see that I screwed it up. There's workspace 14. And see, we have this window now. So if we think in terms of that, what does Alt Shift Up arrow do? It takes this current window and sends it to the next available workspace, which is pretty interesting, I think. So let's go ahead and implement that. I feel like it shouldn't take that long. Let me go ahead and send that back. Send this back. There's still this overlay issue too. I guess I want to fix that as well. Let's go ahead and fix this overlay issue too. So I guess last time I left off this overlay issue. So in the lower left here, my buddy had this idea of allowing you to assign names to your workspaces so that they show up very clearly. And right now you can assign the name, but it shows up as just a period here, which is a little bit weird. So I asked Claude actually, based on the stuff we were just talking about, I asked Claude to come up with an analysis, and a diagnosis of the issue. And I haven't actually read the diagnosis yet. Let's take a look at it. Issue 1, name overlay showing only a period and wrong size. Looking at the function, the problem is likely in the text positioning. The x coordinate is set to padding, but the text control should start x equals 0. So it's thinking that maybe like it's just way off somehow in terms of where it's being drawn. Not entirely sure that's correct, but we can try that out. See, that's the great thing about having the command for reverting your changes. We can kind of just try out some of this stuff without being 100% sure the diagnosis is correct. And if it gets it wrong, then we'll just revert the changes. It's not a big deal. Issue number 2, Alt-Shift-W not showing workspace names. I mean, that's not an issue. That's just like an unimplemented feature. If you can implement that, that's not hard. Fix for issue 1, remove the XY positioning from the text control. Let it use the default positioning within the GUI. Let's go ahead and try it. Just tell it to fix both issues here. And while this runs, what I really like to do while vibe coding is to do anything else while LLMs run. I think that's a lot of the point, right? Sometimes I like to switch back and forth between a whole bunch of LLMs. While one runs, I get another one running, etc. I'm a little tired today. I don't really feel like doing that. So what I am going to do is show you guys a meditation technique I really like. Let's see here. So I've talked about meditation a fair amount on this stream before. I really like meditation a lot. I think it's a big part of how I regulate my mental health these days, how I stay happy and how I sort of keep a sense of direction, how I stay aligned, how I find my own source of meaning. And meditation is going to look a little bit different for different people. And I think a lot of people, they try to meditate and they don't really know how. They don't know how to sort of get started with meditation. Like, they'll close their eyes and breathe, but like there's more to meditation than that. And so I want to show a video that I think is a good introduction to meditation for people who don't know how to do it yet. And when I say don't know how to do it, that's like a very arrogant thing to say. Like this, I'm not good at meditating. There's a long way for me to go, but I think, you sort of make breakthrough after breakthrough, sort of understanding how meditation works and how you should be approaching it. And I think if you're sort of at that initial point where you're trying to figure out how do I even get started with this, I think this meditation technique I think is a good introduction. So we're gonna look up Shunya Meditation by Dr. K. And I've had a really long day. I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff today. I went to Seattle a couple times, got my hair cut, got a bunch of errands done, took my dog to the park twice. I haven't had a lot of time just for myself to like calm down a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do this meditation. And I want to encourage you guys in chat to join me in this. And afterward, we can talk a bit about sort of our experience with it, I think. So before I get into this, on yesterday I went to a meditation hangout, I guess. This is my first time doing something like this. We went to someone who I didn't know super well. I just only kind of knew them. I went over to their house and we all just sat in silence for 30 minutes and meditated together. And then afterward, we just sort of shared our experiences. And I think that was really insightful, getting to hear their experiences, getting to talk about my experiences, sort of comparing them with each other. I think that's really good for like learning about how to meditate better. So I want to encourage you guys to do this alongside with me. And then afterward, let's talk about the experience a bit. So this is a 10-minute meditation. And I think it's a very good introduction to meditation. You seem really smart. I appreciate that, Zoe. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to let me know. I love AI stuff. I love a lot of stuff, and that's what the stream's about, really, All right, is this volume working? Let's see. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Dr. K before. He does a lot of like therapy content, psychiatry content. A lot of his stuff is aimed at things like, oh, how do you deal with loneliness? Oh, how do you deal with ADHD, etc., etc. But he also has this kind of meditation bent to him, and I like a lot of his meditation content. I think I first tried this technique maybe 3 months ago, and I thought it was pretty useful. And yeah, let's go ahead and run through this. Smart people are hot. I appreciate that. Smart people are hot.
Okay.
I definitely agree.
So we're gonna do shunya meditation. All right. So I want you guys to sit up straight. This is not in the guide. So there's some stuff, but shunya is not in the guide. I don't think anyway. Maybe a little bit. Okay. You can take headphones off. It's fine. All right. So what I want y'all to do is sit up straight.
Looks like the audio's working. Okay, the audio's working. Great.
Close your eyes. And the first thing that I want you to do is just notice whatever your senses are picking up outside of you. So even if you want to, you can open your eyes briefly. But I want you to notice that, for example, you're able to hear sounds, right? So like listen to the sound of my voice, or even with your eyes closed, like reach out in front of you and like maybe touch the desk, touch something. And just notice that like this object exists without outside, right? So just feel it and kind of notice that this thing is out here, but I am the one that is experiencing whatever the sensory input is. So I'm the one who's doing the touching, and the object is the thing that gets touched. Right? I am the listener, and there are sounds outside. So there's the outside world, which is sending sensory input into you. So take a moment to touch an object around you. Listen to the sound of my voice. Maybe notice the smell. And that fundamentally there are things outside you, and your sensory organs are the entry point of things outside you to within you. I know it sounds kind of basic, but like recognize that what you touch is not part of you, right? You just have contact with it. The words that you hear are not part of you. You simply have contact with them. And now what we're going to do is focus on the sensory apparatus. So notice that you have ears that are capable of hearing. Right? So we're not going to focus on the sound itself or my words, but just the fact that you're able to hear. So where do you do the hearing? What is your experience of hearing? If you're using the sense of touch, as you touch, notice that the sensations that you feel are not the table. You don't actually feel the table. What you feel is you touching the table. That there are tactile sensors within your fingers that will feel pressure and warmth or cold or temperature. And that's not actually the object, it is your perception of the object. And so what I want you to do is push lightly against an object near you. And feel the sensation across your fingers. Rub an object around you, and once again feel the sensation across your fingers. And now what I want you to do is go even one layer deeper. And notice that even without touching something, so relax your hands, maybe fold them in your lap, adopt a mudra if you prefer. And notice that your fingers and hands generate signals without any external contact. So now we've left the external world completely behind. And notice that your hands have a proprioceptive sense, which means you can tell where they are in space. You can feel where your hands are. Whether they're above your head, in your lap, you know where your body is. And even without any kind of external contact, your body generates signals that tell you where you are. You can know where your hands are, you can know where your fingers are, because they're sending you signals. They're letting you know, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. And now I want you to travel up your arms. So start with your hands, then focus on your forearms, and notice that your forearms exist. And then move up to your elbows. And now notice all the signals that your body is sending you. And then up to your arms. And you may even feel uncomfortable, like moving. If you want to, you can go ahead and move. And now up to your shoulders. And now into the chest or upper abdomen. And this is where the practice becomes difficult. If not, you can just practice for this next part. And so notice that the sensations in your body, that there's a black box, kind of in the middle of your body, that you may feel hunger or fullness in your stomach. And you may experience like some sensation in the upper chest, around your lungs. But actually in the core of your being, notice that there's like a complete absence of sensation. That there's something that sends you no signals whatsoever. It's just the only way you can notice it's there is because if you follow the sensations of the body, they stop at some point. And in the core of your being, there is a hollowness. And now focus on that point. Focus on that sensation. Now ask yourself, what is that? Notice that your body and your mind signal to you that they exist, either through the presence of thoughts or physical sensations. But how is it that you can feel nothing at the core of your being? And meditate upon that thing. Practice for another minute or so. And now externalize your attention again. Start to come out of that place. Return to your body. Go up the chest to the shoulders, arms, elbows, forearms, fingers. Listen to the sound of my voice. And notice that the world begins to exist again. Go ahead and come on back.
That felt good. Let's talk a bit about it. Um, Give me a second to gather my thoughts here. Yes, Zoe. My Instagram is underscore axiom. No. Sorry, my Instagram is axioms underscore music. Axioms just spelled out, no zero or anything. I have a different alias on every platform because they're taken on half the platforms. You know how it goes. Let's talk a bit about this meditation because I want to kind of demystify it. I think when a lot of people are exposed to meditation practices for the first time, it can feel like a lot of woo, you know? And so I want to kind of demystify like sort of my interpretation of this experience and why I think it's like a good introduction to meditation. This was not my introduction to meditation, to be clear. I did a lot of unguided meditation before discovering this, but when I was shown this video, it seemed to be like a nice, easy segue from sort of normal living into a more meditative state. So I want to talk a bit about, I want to demystify this a bit. Before we do that, let's take a quick look at our Cerberus to see how we're doing there. Both issues have been fixed. Let's go ahead and reload Cerberus and see. All right, so Dr. K's meditation, the Shunya meditation. Why is this a useful practice? I would say that the goal of this practice is two core things. Okay. Well, first of all, I would say the goal of all meditation is one core thing, which is to be as perceptive as you can be. I think some might disagree with that. Some might say that's too absolute a statement. At least from my personal experience, the core purpose of meditation is to perceive as much as possible. To ground yourself in your reality as much as possible. And your reality is both external and internal. It's the senses around you, as well as your internal mental state and your internal physical state. So what's the point of this Shunya exercise? The point of it is two things. One is to recognize that you're just a bag of processes experiencing a bag of sensations, right? Like when we're talking about, am I feeling the table versus am I feeling my fingers feeling the table, right? That's kind of a nuanced distinction, right? But the idea is to separate out the relationship between the objects. Like that's a real thing. There's in the reality, the reality is that the object of my hand is touching the object of the table, but that's not psychologically useful, right? The psychologically useful thing is I'm experiencing the qualia of tactile feedback, right? And so one of the purposes of Shunya, I think, is to sort of get into the mindset of, okay, everything I'm experiencing is just qualia. Okay, everything is just a sensation, right? The sensation is grounded in the real world. It's based on something real, but the experience itself is purely just sensations. Okay? And the second thing about Shunya is that as we sort of focus on our fingertips and go up our arm and into our chest, we become aware that we can control what we are paying attention to. Attention is a finite resource, and there's tons of stimuli all around us and inside us all the time. But if we can focus our attention toward a certain spot, then we can more objectively perceive. And one of the interesting things about this is that as we go towards the chest and notice that eventually we're paying attention to a point that a sensation doesn't exist in, if you're able to get to that state where you can pay attention to this point where there's no sensation at all, then what you're perceiving is no longer pleasure or pain. It's just a neutral, it's just neutrality, right? And once you can break away from experiencing this is a good sensation versus a bad sensation versus this is just where I'm paying attention to objectively, then I think you can that starts to get you more grounded in reality. It starts to get you more grounded in your present state. It's easy to, get lost in thought, right? And you're thinking more and more, you're overthinking, maybe you're anxious, maybe you're stressed, and you're getting further away from, oh, this is how I actually feel, right? And it's even as simple as, maybe you're in pain and it hurts, right? But if you can focus on just the sensations as opposed to the judgment of whether, how do I put this? So if you're feeling pain, like physical pain, right, that's a sensation. But if we talk about, oh, the pain hurts, that's a judgment on the sensation. And usually we don't think in terms of dividing these two concepts because I think it's so natural to be like, oh, the pain is just something that intrinsically hurts, right? And I think that one of the goals of meditation in general, but especially shunya, is to sort of help differentiate these two concepts that feel super, super tied together. I think by default, they're completely tied together for the vast majority of people. I never thought in terms of pain as something separate from hurting, right? I thought those are like the same thing. Oh, it's pain, it hurts. Well, if you can get to the point where you're saying, oh, this pain is a sensation, and a different part of my consciousness is making the judgment of the sensation that it's a negative sensation, then you can start to observe that pain more objectively. And when you can observe the pain more objectively, it can control you less, right? Pain is just one example. I use that example because I have like chronic pain issues with my back and neck. But in general, sensations, we're used to think of them as good or bad. A pretty flower is a good image. The smell of feces is a bad smell, right? But if you can get to the point where these are just sensations and a different part of the consciousness is doing the judgment on the sensations, then I think you can get more objectivity sometimes. Hey, Gio, what are LLMs? LLMs are large language models. Things like ChatGPT. ChatGPT, Grok are, I'm assuming, the ones that most people have heard of. The one I use is Claude Code because, one, I think it's smarter, and two, I trust the ethics of the people behind it more. But yeah, LLMs are large language models, and I think they're the future of productivity. So let's take a look at what our large language model did. We went ahead and did some bug fix, but it looks like this Cerberus overlay is still screwed up. Like, we named this overlay Cerberus, so we know now that the name assignment is working, but it's not fully fixed. It's stuck in this box right here. Sound very intelligent. I appreciate that, man. If you have questions about anything, feel free to ask, homie. So let's go ahead and tell it what the state of the issue is. I don't think we need to tell it to revert any changes. I think it's probably fine as is. Oh, let me go ahead and check the Alt-Shift-W real quick. So it should say for workspace 11 that's name Cerberus. Yes. Okay, we do have the naming working, and we do have that working. All right. Okay. Issue 2 is fixed. Regarding issue 1, I no longer see just a period, but I see a truncated version of the workspace name. For example, I have a workspace 11 named Cerberus. You can look at the workspace save file to understand this. Basically, Cerberus has a save file system where I'm saving all this information, and workspace 11 here is named Cerberus, so it should be able to see that in the workspace save file. I have the workspace 11 named Cerberus, but the overlay shows Urburu in a cyan box. I assume the reason for this is that the text is centered in an undersized box. Ideally, the text should be left aligned and the box size should be calculated based on the name and font. Don't edit the code. We're going back to our LLM trick. And we'll have this right here, okay? Don't edit the code yet. Analyze the code and come up with a plan for implementing this. All right. Do I stream anywhere else besides Twitch? I'm on YouTube and Kick right now, homie. And I certainly encourage everyone in chat who is enjoying this content to, hit a sub on YouTube, hit a follow on Twitch, whatever it is. But if you're enjoying this content, I would appreciate that very much. But yeah, I'm multi-streaming. This is actually my first time multi-streaming on. Well, this week has been my first time multi-streaming on Kick. For most of my streaming career, I was only on Twitch. I was kind of skeptical of multi-streaming in the past, but I'm more on board with it now. Okay, let's see what it looks. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the plan it came up with. Looking at the code, I can see the issue. The text is being truncated based on how the text dimensions are being calculated and applied. Okay, so it seems that maybe it's already calculating the dimensions, which is doing it incorrectly. Let's keep reading. Let me analyze the current approach. Current code analysis. Text dimension calculation, lines 417 to 422. I'm not going to actually bother reading the code. Okay. This creates a temporary GUI to measure text dimensions. Okay, so it's like doing a fake GUI to try to figure out how big this text should be. So that should work. Why isn't that working? The overlay is sized based on the measured text plus padding. Okay. The text control is created with center option. The center might be a little weird, but let's go on. Okay. Problem identified. A temporary measurement might not be accurate. The temporary text control may not have the same rendering context as the final one. The center option is causing truncation. The text control is being constrained to inner width, which is overlay minus further reducing available space. Oh, maybe it's not counting this border. Is that what it's saying there? Okay. Plan to fix. Remove the width height constraints. Let auto use left aligned. Show the GUI after sizing. Do we want to show the GUI? I'm not sure if that's what we want. But because of our trick, which is just revert everything if it doesn't work, we can be a little bit dangerous with this and go ahead and tell it to go ahead and try this fix. Even though I'm not 100% sure on some of the details here, whether it's like the correct thing for this to do. But if it doesn't work, we'll just tell it to undo it. It's not a big deal. So, do it. All right. And it is discombobulating. Let it discombobulate away. Let's see. This should go over with my OBS, I think. The meditation feels much better. I definitely have just been very mentally active all day. I've just kind of been nonstop either in a conversation or working towards some errand of some sort. Even some of it was related to the stream. Earlier today I was trying to figure out how to set up my phone camera with the stream. I failed, by the way, which is why I'm still on this shitty webcam. But I will figure it out. I'm going to figure it out for the next time I stream. I want to stream off my iPhone camera. It's just a nicer camera. Two, I can move it around. So if I want to show other parts of the room, it's easier. If I want to go up to the kitchen and do some cooking, that's easier. So I definitely want to get that figured out. I know I need some kind of virtual camera software. Whatever I tried, it was really low quality, so I'm going to try something else. We'll see how it goes. The fix is complete. Let's see about that, Claude. Let's see about that. Okay, let's reload Cerberus. What the fuck is this? This is just a cyan box. Is there anything even inside it? I can't even tell. I see some weird discoloration, but I'm honestly not sure if that's just my monitor being shitty, because the monitor itself has some discoloration issues. Let me switch the monitor so I can look at it on a different monitor. Okay, those little discolorations are in fact real. Let's switch it back. Okay, but we're going to tell it to revert the changes. Okay. Currently, it shows a fully cyan block. I'm not even going to bother talking about the discolorations because I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like a dash and a period. I don't know what the heck is going on there. It shows a fully cyan block. This fix didn't work. So now I'm going to go copy paste this trick, and then say come up with our, that's how it says, analyze the code base more deeply and come up with a new diagnosis. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and undo this stuff, and hopefully it'll figure out a better way to do it, and then we'll try that, and then if that doesn't work, we're just gonna do it again. And this might sound really, really stupid, but in my experience, it actually works quite well. Sometimes you have to tell it 4 or 5 times, but it's no skin off your back. You're busy doing other things. You know, maybe you're meditating, maybe you're talking to chat. It doesn't really matter. If you're just having LLMs do this for you while you take care of the rest of your life in the foreground, then it doesn't matter if you need a few iterations to make this work. Especially if you have a lot of LLMs working at once across a whole lot of projects. I don't think I'm going to get any other LLMs going right now, just because I'm pretty tired and I need to sort of figure out where I am with each project. I mean, I can open up MinFlow. So this is my to-do list app. And this is a don't worry about that. That's a test deck that I'm trying to figure out. That I was doing some like testing with. So let's take a look. I mean, I could try to like deal with the recurrent deck issue. So basically right now, actually, you know what? I think last time I used MinFlow, I told it to implement the feature, and I just never tested it. Here, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So I have something in MinFlow called a recurrent deck, where this is here. I'm gonna send this to Workspace 3. Oh my god. Okay, I had a buddy using my computer, so everything is in like a different workspace than I'm expecting. So now I have to go find it. Oh, actually, I don't have to find it. I can just look it up on my window workspace map. MinFlow. It's currently on. Bro, is it closed? I mean, I have the Firefox windows, but that's not what I want. Oh my god, is it closed? Don't tell me it's closed. Oh, here it is. It's called Command Timeout. Okay, whatever. So here, let's go back to MinFlow so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So MinFlow, the way it works is it's based on a sticky note system where instead of these being oh my god, what's going on here? Control-Alt-Shift-2. Okay, there we go. So basically each of these sticky notes is a deck of tasks. So you can think of each deck as being a project and each card in the deck as being a task in the project. And so sometimes I want to have a recurring project, right? Like maybe I need to cook every day, or maybe I need to take care of my dog every day, right? And so I have a bunch of steps I need to do on a daily basis, and so I want this to be a recurrent deck. I don't want the cards to just like disappear as I complete the task. I want it to sort of rotate, right? So let's see if this issue got fixed. Right now it's showing 0 out of 3, even though I have 0 out of 2, even though I have 3 cards. That's not an ideal situation. Although I think I might need to restart the server before this to be meaningful. Or wait, my friend changed something to make this automatic, so maybe this is automatic now. Let me go ahead and just refresh the page. I haven't checked my friend's changes. I guess I should, maybe the thing I should just do is ask Claude to summarize their changes for me. Yeah, that's definitely a bug, right? That's the wrong denominator. And there it's... Huh. Do we have an error there? No, we don't. Okay, that's weird. Okay, well, let's check the basic functionality. So let's go add 2 cards, okay? And so if I complete the top card, what should happen is that it should say 1 out of 2. And it does, and it goes completed. If I complete this card, what should happen is that this card initially goes to completed. Then these 2 cards move back here to make the deck recurrent, and then it should say 0 out of 2 again. So does it do that? Yes, it briefly went to 2 out of 2, and then went back to 0 out of 2 with these tasks. Okay, there was a little weird bug earlier. I'm going to have to look into that. But it looks like at least that part works. So let's go ahead and I'll add a new card for that specific deck. Recurrent card counter bug. But for the most part, their current overhaul is done. So I'm going to go ahead and complete that task. Let's go back to Cerberus real quick. I've reverted to a simpler approach that more closely matches the working. Okay, let's wait. I told you not to edit the code. Are you kidding me? No, I didn't edit. Oh, I screwed up, guys. I forgot to tell it not to edit the code. Well, it's okay. Let's go ahead and try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll undo it. And then this time we'll tell it not to edit the code. See, nothing is really that big a deal. No need to stress. No need to stress. All right, so we're gonna reload everything here. Okay, so at least we have our gray box back. It is now a cyan bordered gray box as expected, but it does not say Cerberus. Oh, dude, look. This is a C and this is a B. Okay, we can actually see what's going on. That's what these two little ticks are. It's just drawing it too low. But it is writing Cerberus too low. Most of it is getting cut off the bottom and is not, is getting cut off the bottom. And also the box is clearly not big enough for the whole word. Review your changes. Don't edit the code further. Analyze and diagnose. Analyze and make a better diagnosis. Something like that. I don't know the exact wording these things matter, but like the gist of it is the same every time, you know. All right, so if we go back to MinFlow, how are we doing here? Completed tab order. Oh yeah, there was an issue where the cards being completed are I think they're currently being added to this list in the order that they were created rather than the order they were completed. I'm gonna ask Claude to double check that for me. So let's go ahead and do that. Alt-Shift-T to tab our windows. Oh, wait, this is the... Did I lose that window? Shoot. Okay, there we go. I'm going to have to reassign all the workspaces before the next stream because I'm... my whole workflow is based on that. So, okay. Let's go ahead and tell it to commit and push. Okay. Currently, I believe that tasks in the completed tab are ordered based on task creation date rather than task completion date. Don't edit the code. See if what I'm saying is true or not. A big thing I do with LLMs is that I'll use LLMs to analyze the code instead of reading the code myself. Obviously, there's going to come a time and place when like reading the code is like a last resort that you have to do, and you should be able to do when that time comes. But like, I try to do as little of it as possible to maximize my efficiency. Okay, looking at the current code and symptoms, I now see the core issue, dude. It's always so confident. You can never trust it being this confident. Analysis of current problems. Text is cut off at the bottom. Okay, so this thing doesn't correctly measure. So then what are you going to do? Instead of trying to measure text and temperature, we should either use the built-in things. Okay. See if AHK's text measurement API exists. It seems to not know for sure whether this API exists, and in the past I've had issues where Claude hallucinates APIs for AutoHotkey, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it to check this. Alright, this is still running. One thing that makes me very happy. So last time I was on stream, I had to quit as soon as I started overheating because, my God, it was warm in my room. Now I have an air conditioner for the first time in my life. I have my own air conditioner. I'm so happy. My room feels like a fridge, exactly the way I like it. I love the cold, man. It feels so better, so much better. I've also got some fans running, so we got some air circulation throughout the room. Oh man, you know what I should have done? I should have put that floral essence. So this is a thing I do where I have some lavender oil. I also have some rose water. I have some other essences based on what I'm feeling. I dab a little bit on a paper towel, stick it behind a fan, let the air circulate through the room, and let this sort of scent just encompass the room. It's kind of a poor man's incense scented candle reed diffuser kind of thing, but it gets the job done. All right, let's see. Okay, it does have text measurement APIs. However, there are caveats. The current approach fails, or we should either use a fixed size approach with generous dimensions. I don't want to use a fixed size approach because it's ugly, you know? It's gonna be ugly. I mean, I guess we could get rid of the box, right? If we get rid of the box, then we don't need special dimensions. I just think it's gonna be ugly without the box, you know? I feel like it needs the box to, like, not look like shit. So that's why okay, so let's not do the fixed size approach. Implement proper get text extend point 32, but this requires the GUI to be shown first. Use character count estimation. Character count estimation is a little sus, but it might be the easiest. Maybe we can switch to a monospace font. How about that, guys? What if we switch to a monospace font and then use character count estimation? That could work. I will keep that in the back of my head because it's definitely I like the current font, you know. So I'm gonna tell it to do 2 first, and then if that doesn't work, we'll try 3 with a monospace font. All right, MinFlow is still running. All right. It seems like just the commit and push took a while because I had to do some stuff. All right, so now it's investigating the actual issue I care about. Great. Okay, so one thing Claude does is it keeps adding context and context and context with every time you give it a prompt, every time it generates information during its own prompt, and every so often it has to compact that context down because as the context gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the model gets slower and slower and slower and less reliable. And so these models are built in with some sort of max limit. And so once you hit that max limit, it's going to automatically compact everything. By compact, it just summarizes everything that excuse me. It just summarizes everything that's already been said into something much shorter. So that frees up all your context so that I can like do more work. So that's what it's doing right now. It's just compacting the conversation. All right. While I wait for these, I'm going to play the greatest game in the world, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Let's see. Let's move this to this monitor. Let's go to monitor 4. I like to grab a melee set in between Claudes, you know, while Claudes run. Oh my God, that is loud. What the flip? How do I make that less loud? God, that was loud. What the heck? Do I got sound anywhere? There we go. I just can't. Okay, open volume mixer. Okay, where's my controller at? I especially like playing melee after meditating. I think I almost think of melee as like an exam for your meditation to see, you know, how present can you be while you play. All right, that's a more reasonable volume, right? That's still a bit loud. Just a little bit. Okay, and while we wait for the set, let's go ahead and check on everything that's going on. So Cerberus, we can see is still running. I'm going to bring up MinFlow here. Okay, looks like MinFlow. Okay, your observation is correct. Okay, I'll just tell it to fix it. Fix it. See, I can even like do a bit of clouding like in the middle of like a melee set. Like right now, character select's happening. Get some prompts going, then free my mind up to just focus on the game. Looks like we're playing Mars versus Jigglypuff. I've been playing a lot of Puff lately. I'm not really a Puff main, but I've been playing a lot of Puff lately. Strike these two. Alright, looks like Cerberus is finished running, so after this game we can go ahead and check on that. Oh god. I gotta stay more grounded in this matchup. Oh god! Oh god! That was a bad throw, he shouldn't have done that. Oh, he meant to up tilt. Yo! Oh, what a kill! What an F smash! Okay, I gotta survive though. I went and looked at my Claude session, looked away from the screen. Oh, faced the wrong way. Oh. I'm alive! I'm dead. Inflow's still going. Alright, we'll let Cerberus after this and see. Oh no! Oh god! Alright, another F smash, let's go. Yeah, he doesn't have the kill setups. There's not to be a lot scary if he did. Uh-oh. That killed me! Oh my god! Really? Oh, that was terrible. Oh, that was a good kill. All right, let's take a look at the Cerberus real quick. I don't know about time. Let's go ahead and reload Cerberus though. It's gonna make melee disappear for a second, which is a little disorienting. Okay, let's bring everything back. Minflow is still going, by the way. Ooh, it looks like we have the exact same issue. Okay, exact. Oh, let's go to Battlefield, sure. Exact same issue. Blah 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 blah. Our usual, prompt. Um, implement option 3 with a monospace font. Let's try that. And I'm gonna switch to Peach because I'm better at Peach. So we got two LLMs running while I play video games. The way humankind was meant to exist. Oh god. Alright, let's turn up camp a bit. Oh, I put myself right in tipper range, like a scrub. Oh, what an edge guard! To be fair, he should have sweet spotted. But, I'll take it. Am I dead? No. Yo, big combo. Oh, you slipped. I love Peach's movement. You gotta do tricky, slippery stuff like that. Oh, I fucked up! Oh, I almost got him! Okay, he's good. Or he's done. Let's try to take this game real quick. Oh god, he's gonna tipper me. No, he's not. Uh-oh. Okay, we play safer. Oh no! I thought I was gonna take the stock. Too bad. That it? Alright. Alright. We're 1-1. Let's take a look at Cerberus. I've simplified the implementation with the monospace font. Okay, let's go ahead and reload once again. I'm gonna buffer the I'm gonna buffer FD ban. Alright, so we're gonna reload Cerberus once again. Let's take a look if it's fixed. Is Minflow still running? Okay, Minflow has also finished. Ooh, we're still having some weird issue with the Cerberus overlay. That's too bad. That's too bad. The Minflow bug, I'm pretty sure is already fixed. Just because it's a really straightforward thing. I'll have to test it, but I'd be very surprised if it wasn't working. That's the type of thing that, like, I would not expect LLMs to screw up. Graphical stuff, much harder, you know? Oh god, oh god. Oh, look at me. What? Oh god. Oh, I missed! Oh no! I'm playing so bad! Oh god. Ooh, he knows I like to go in. I'm pushing center stage way too much. Oh, I missed. Right, tied up. Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. I gotta play perfect. Couldn't even take the stock. GG's. All right, let's take a look at the code. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at MinFlow first, because I think that should be fixed. But let's go ahead and like test it real quick. So that should be easy enough to test. What the heck? Why is my code not restart? Why is my thing not restarting? That's a little weird. Oh no! What happened? Well, that is not auspicious. I'm sure it's just some stupid thing. Well, honestly, I think this is probably a good place for me to end the stream. I'm getting exhausted. I gotta get some shut eye, guys. But thank you guys for joining in. We're gonna do some more coding. I don't know exactly which day, but a day coming soon for sure. I'll be back on stream doing some coding. I want to get my phone camera set up first. That's the only thing. That's the next thing that's blocking on my stream. I'm kind of trying to do like one thing to improve my stream quality, I guess, with each stream. So right now, I think the camera and lighting are pretty bad. So like those are like the next things I'm gonna focus on. And then next time I come on, we're gonna do some more coding. Actually, get these features implemented. It's too bad we didn't get the Cerberus thing working, but it's not a big deal. At least we got the workspace map fixed. We probably got the MinFlow completer task order fixed. So it's nice we got a couple features in there. We did some meditation. We went over different ways to get the most out of your LLMs. So yeah. Hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you next time.